Welcome back, guys, to the Beyond Condition podcast, the voice of bodybuilding. I'm your host, Sarah Parker. Today, my people, we are welcoming Gina from Zanzibar. Welcome.
Thank you. It's like Gina is currently in Zanzibar, but I'm not like technically from.
You've basically gone to join Hella now. Obviously, the podcast listeners would have had a couple of episodes with Hella on, and you guys have got your business together and you're very close friends, obviously, competing, coaching, all of the good stuff. And that in itself, right, can come from bodybuilding. You can meet your die-hard people, can't you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was a fan, you know. I was like, can I get a picture with you? At the Tampa Pro when she won it, and I did it, backstage. And then eventually I was like, wow. I remember looking at my phone when she would call, and I'm like, Coach Trevino is calling me. Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and it's that example of you sort of put people on a pedestal, as it were, and then
Definitely.
it's like you meet someone like Hella, and you're like, you're literally just such a fucking cool human being. And I feel like there's obviously people in the space that are a little bit not so much, not so friendly as she is with us, and that can put you off. And I think that, something I always say is don't give up on people. I think that you need to try sometimes and make an effort because it then becomes reciprocal and you can build that bond because you understand each other, don't you? Because it's just easy. Bodybuilding.
Yeah.
We're all weird.
We're different creatures, definitely.
Yes, I love that. We absolutely are. Now, today we're going to talk about common questions as a female bodybuilder, and I really do feel this would be such a good opportunity because anyone listening, head over to Gina's Instagram that's in the description because you put out a lot of the things we're talking about. You put it out as short form, so reels and different things that we can talk about because I feel like, and I'm sure you're going to agree, the female bodybuilding side of things, obviously, I'm doing as much as I can with the podcast, but it's still quite a male dominated space. So you listen to a podcast and it's male PDs, male training, male, and it's like, where do you go for the female side of things? And I feel like that's something you're trying to do with your Instagram as well. Is that right?
It is, and unfortunately, like my very first attempt at that, maybe it was maybe my second attempt, Instagram didn't like, right? And I had a post pulled and my main account, restricted for a year,
Oh,
so a year. They were like, wow. They were like, you're selling drugs. I'm like, no, 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 no. I was not selling drugs. But that's how they perceived it, and there was no getting to a human. Um, but anyway, yes, I would like to advocate that message and be that voice and put out good quality information about females and peds, because there's quite frankly there's not a lot out there. Like you said, it is male dominated, male oriented, and where there's even been research about men and the effects of, performance enhancing drugs. There's not that so much in women. So there's a need for it because there's a lot of just as much use among female athletes as there is males.
this is my thought process, and I feel like when it comes to PD use we're in this like almost like the Instagram example. It's like, so if you talk about it there can be assumptions that you're advocating it. No, that's not the case, right? It's like, as you rightly said, PEDs are used. This is bodybuilding. It is how it is unless people like ourselves come forward to try and offer a safe space education. Who's going to? And that's, I think, what then causes that. Like, well, I won't talk about it because everyone says I'm saying do steroid. It's not that, and it's difficult at times because people have the opinions that suddenly we're these steroid pushers. And if anything, I
Yes,
push people in the other direction and say, try it naturally first.
right. I mean, but it is a slippery slope. I mean, just people assume that because you're speaking and making awareness about it, that you're advocating it. And we know it's two very different things. The last thing we would ever want to be perceived as is pushing, advocating, recommending, use of any performance enhancing drug or drug period. But I think though that it still warrants having that message put out there, regardless of whether they think you're promoting it or not.
Mm, Opinions. Opinions on social media. We have to, it's almost like batting it off. I feel like as well, you have to, if you're gonna be doing what we're doing and trying to help and do something in the community that is supporting, people that are already using, right, or people that are like, I've been told to use this, I've been told, like, and they don't know where to go. At least it gives that safe space, and that's important. So anyone listening, of course, follow, have a follow of Gina because she's putting out all the good stuff, training also. So we're going to talk about the common questions that we've both had as coaches, athletes, but also I said to you before we hit record, I feel like we can delve into some of the sort of hormonal side of things and the female specific things that are common questions, but you maybe don't know there's something you would even ask a question about. So I came on my period today, and I feel like that's something, right? If you're coached maybe by a male or even a female as well, maybe you don't even think about like, would you adapt your training? Would you, make any changes to nutrition, etc., etc. And I'd love to hear your take on when you are working with females, the sort of things that you would, ask them, or they would come to you with, like the things that you would record around a menstrual cycle.
Really, as long as they're in like a not on a cycle. I mean, obviously, if they're on a cycle, there's a very good chance that they're not going to have their period, right? We
Mhm,
might see
mhm.
some cessation at that point. So, really, my interest is more around when it's post cycle to see that normalization is happening and that we see a period come back, right? And that we see some regular trend afterwards for a period of time before we consider going back on. So really, I'm just looking more at those details at that point in time than I am making any adjustments for having a period. I mean, unless I have somebody who, I mean, I understand the menstrual cramps. If somebody has debilitating menstrual cramps, which this does happen,
Yeah.
you know, yes, of course, you're gonna adjust your training.
Mhm.
If you're in prep, you're probably just gonna get it out and deal with it.
Yeah.
Right? I
Yeah.
mean, I fortunately, I haven't had a period in 15 years, I mean, but even when I did, I was fortunate I never had like a cramp ever,
Mhm, mhm.
you know? I mean, and I saw other women and, girls in school that were dying. And I was like, yep, I'm good. You know,
Bleeding. I
that's
do.
all.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like you raise a relevant point there as well. When you go on cycle, and even at the depths of prep for, your menstrual cycle, I don't feel sometimes female athletes would even know that maybe you would lose your menstrual cycle when you're on anabolics or when you're in a preparation. And there is a lot that goes around in this space where it's like the main thing when you come out of a prep, if you've lost your cycle, is can we regain that hormonal health to bring the cycle back online? But when you first get into competing, unless your coach tells you this, how do you know? Like it can be quite normal in competitive bodybuilding. That's not saying it is normal, but if you're getting fucking dick skin lean, it could happen, right?
Really can happen. Yes.
And it's a bit of a weird space because you're like, is this normal? And depending on, if you're listening, this type of stuff, speak to your coach if you can. I'm sure you're an advocate of people speaking to you that you coach because it can be a weird space when you first get into it, right?
Sure. I mean, I imagine so that, I mean, bodybuilding as a coach and a client, you have conversations that you ordinarily probably wouldn't have with another person about menstrual cycles, bowel movements,
Yeah.
right? So, um, I think there's nothing that is not can't be said between coach and client. I do think that I wonder if is there some hesitation if it's a female and a female coach? I don't know. I mean, I never had that situation where I had to deal with a menstrual issue with a male coach, and I mean, I assume they would just understand that it's, I don't know. I never heard the horror stories about a coach in a, period. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Fortunately.
I mean, the I mean, I've heard lots of stories, but I feel like the difficulty can become if the male coach maybe doesn't understand the female side of competing as much as they maybe could. And I do have male coaches listen to the podcast that are like, I need to understand it more for my female clients. And then it's difficult as a coach, I think, sometimes because you you get your obviously maybe your level two, level three personal trainer, and then it's like, okay, so what do we do to enhance our education? Maybe we have mentorship, etc. But we are in this that there's so many coaches now, Gina, and it's like, are you doing your ongoing, continual professional development? Are you working with a range of different clients? But we don't know everything, do we? Sometimes you have to reach out to someone to go, actually, I've got a client with XYZ. Can you give me a bit of advice? And sometimes coaches don't want to do that. And I think we need to sometimes. Like you and Hella, I'd imagine, go between you about stuff because you can help each other.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's one of the strengths that we have as a coaching team. Um, there's certain things that Hella is better at. There's certain things that I'm better at, or we just have a different background or experience. So I might have an insight that she doesn't have, or vice versa.
Mm.
So I really like having, that second set of eyes and opinion to to look into. But yeah, I mean, I think there's not a lot of transparency between coaches in general, so like, um, but, and I think there's more reliance on artificial intelligence now, which is an even bigger problem that we're starting to see in coaching.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's I sometimes think like I don't know. I want to know what my athletes are doing. So my control freak nature kicks in. I'm like, I can't allow. But again, when we're able to have this at our fingertips, if you're a coach, you got loads of clients, etc., then maybe you end up doing that. And
I
yeah,
mean, utilizing it as a tool,
for sure.
say there's anything wrong with that, but you're relying on your knowledge base from that. That probably might be a problem.
Yeah, and not having that contact with your clients, and that's important. When we talk about the female side of the sport, there's it's like you got male, female, but there is so many differences, even down to and maybe a good segue with cycles, anabolic cycles. There's quite a few things that aren't spoken about. Again, it's like who speaks about these things and where does it come from? But it's so different for male and female. And I always think, from a risk reward standpoint and people going down the assisted route, how do you even understand your risk reward until maybe effects occur? Like what's worth X X effect? You know what I mean? It's like a bit of a
Right?
monopoly.
Conundrum, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's how do you what are the trade-offs? Because yeah, how do you know till things happen? And I know Hella, when she came on the pod, she said, there's certain things that she knows. Like Romana, my friend, if she starts to lose her hair, she would pull back from anabolics or change compounds. And with, monitoring the side effects or effects, as it were, with your clients, do you have communications around if they notice something, do they come to you? Like how does that just for people listening, if they are going assisted or are assisted, maybe the things that they could maybe think about talking to their coach about if they needed to?
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends really on the experience level of the athlete. I mean, if it's certainly, let's say it's a new athlete and they don't know what to expect with some type of compound or supplement. So I'm a firm believer in education, not only, that I give them knowledge and teach them what it is, because first and foremost, they're putting something in their body. So, they hear from me immediately, look, you're putting something in your body.
For
This is
sure.
big. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, you're putting something into your body, so you need to be aware, educated, knowledgeable about what you're about to introduce to your system. So, I'm giving resources, links, saying, here, read this. Do you have any questions? I just want them to be informed. Nobody did that with me. They just said, here, take this. And me being, okay, I want to be big bodybuilder, I took it.
Mhm, mhm.
And my first couple experiences were not good because I didn't ask questions and I didn't do the research and the due diligence. Um, and right now, today, it's so easy. There's like absolutely no reason not to.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because we do, I believe, and because we're in this era, right? It's 2026, there is availability to do this, to take ownership yourself as well. So you're guided by a coach, but if you can do the things like look at the links and look at resources, it's important. Be a bit of a student, try and understand it if you can, because we're in a different day and age now, and it is, yes, the coach guides, but normally, as a coach, we're saying this is what can happen, these are the things to potentially expect. This is something you are making the decision to do. As you say, you're putting it in your body.
Absolutely. I mean, at least make them very aware of what the side effects might be, so they can be aware and monitor for them, especially because different compounds, depending on what it is, the ester, it could be stopped, right? You could reverse something that's happening. So they need to be really aware that they need to pay attention. Oh, I think I noticed something, and they need to communicate that to the coach because we could go, okay, I want you to stop this now, and we can get maybe the voices starting to deepen, or something like that. So we could potentially stop it, reverse it, at least not make it any worse if it's one of those things that could be irreversible. But like you said, I think you said that Romana notices if she starts seeing hair loss, she makes a change. So it's communication with coach and athlete is crucial all the time, but especially around when we're dealing with things that are going to alter the physiology of your body.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It is, like you say, with something like your voice potentially changing. That's so relevant as well. I've mentioned it before, but really good to have. There might be new listeners as well, but to refresh on that, it's something that I've had before when I was utilizing Masteron. I had a bit of a cold come in and my voice was cracking. I was on cycle and I was like, is that the Masteron? What do I do? And then when the cold cleared, it was fine. But I had that opportunity then to go, do I continue this cycle? Do I titrate the dose down? Do I change what I'm going to do? Because I'm noticing there is a change. And I feel like you need to be self-aware enough to actually maybe monitor these things as well. Unless you're not too worried about that, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think people that obviously have different sensitivities, so they may not be as aware of different things than other people might be hypersensitive to.
Mhm. So you raise a relevant point there. Individual genetic response. Now, do we even know, again, would you know that's even a thing, right? Because there's like, these are the things that can happen, might happen to you. It could happen, you could really notice it, or it might be over a period of time. Like, again, it's a rabbit hole, isn't it, Gina?
It really is. I mean, I think that once you identify a sensitivity, that there's a good chance that you'll probably experience it every time because you start seeing with athletes they're like, oh, this doesn't work well for me, which is important because you begin to learn what works well for you and what doesn't. It's great when an athlete has a history that they can relate to the coach and tell them what does work well from them, what doesn't. And different athletes have different concerns too. It might be hair loss, it might be voice deepening, it might be concern about clitoral growth. So everybody's kind of has their trigger things. I have some ladies that won't touch certain things because they're so concerned about hair loss. Which is a big one. And it's one of those things that nobody really wants to talk about too much either.
For
You
sure.
know,
Yeah, it is as well, there is much more when we look at it from a physiological standpoint, utilizing male hormones as well, well, that's, it's changing your profile. It's changing you physiologically. And again, it's like, well, I'll just take this, and you don't maybe even think about that because, like you rightly said, well, I'm going to get muscle. Do I care? And that we are hedonistic at times, so it's not out the realms of possibility that we get, the opportunity potentially to use PEDs, and then we do that through a response to what you can gain from a muscle standpoint, rather than the full understanding to what can happen until maybe it does.
You had just said, I'm going to get muscle. Do I care about what it might do? Um, and I think really that's the coach's job, because I've often said the coach needs to be the voice of reason, because oftentimes the athlete has blinders on. They're just seeing the end result, the goal, where they want to get, and we tend to forget about the precautions, the safeties, and doing what's right for ourselves because we're so focused in on that goal. So that's where the coach needs to be the one saying, no, you dial it back. It's too much, and they have to, sometimes make the tough decisions the athlete doesn't want to hear. But, that's the coach's job. So, you know, if you have an athlete that's always got their hand on the throttle, that's the coach has got to say, no, we're putting on brakes.
And if your coach is saying this, guys, I want to just say don't lie. But be honest. And if your coach says, look, I feel like maybe we need to change the compound or what have you, come off cycle, etc., and you don't want to, again, this could lead to someone going, well, I don't want to be with that coach. And we as coaches have to do our due diligence and stick to, what we believe is right for the client. But being honest is always important, whether it's PDs, whether it's your food plan, whatever it is. We need to again take that ownership to be honest as the athlete, because otherwise the coach is gearing the ship. We don't have all of the information. So it's hard for coaches if we don't know exactly what's going on. If your coach says, well, we're going to take this compound out and you keep taking it.
When dangerous, even if you're taking a prescription medication that you possibly don't tell the coach about, and the coach doesn't know that it has a contradiction with, another thing that they're working with, that's how people get very sick or die. So you have to tell your coach everything.
Okay, so I'm going to say it, Gina. We've got a part two because you've had to relocate to Hella's pad for the Wi-Fi.
The Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi was not disagreeable, or was disagreeable. It's still not better. So
The thing is, you're not the only one. Like over the sort of over 4 years of doing it, there's been so many where I've like edited behind the scenes because we were talking about some really cool stuff, and then we're like, we can't lose that. So it's like, let's chip, 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 chop, and make it work, and then do a part two.
Are you on Fumba?
I think so.
Fumba is better than Soul, the connection.
Oh.
Just check it where you want.
So, guys, you can actually hear the one, the only Hella Trevino in the background, and she is sunburned.
I am on Fumba.
Okay, that's the best one.
I'm on the right Wi-Fi, so we should be good.
I love it. I love it. So, on our part one, we finished with talking about being honest with your coach. And that, of course, I mean, for me, I'd like to ask you, Gina. For me, I've always, from the very start of my bodybuilding journey and being coached, obviously you're paying for that and you're represented as a coach, as it were. I've always done that. I've always been honest, maybe too honest sometimes. We spoke about like bowel movements, periods, all of these things. Have you been the same? Like, have you ever had a coaching experience where you haven't felt you could be as honest? Maybe for some of the listeners that could resonate with that, or what's your experience has been with being coached?
Um, and there's certainly coaches I had that I didn't feel like I could be as open with, but I've never been dishonest. If I cheated, I told them. If I was struggling, I told them. But I know it's kind of current a common theme though that I kind of say that the relationship between an athlete and a coach is almost like a marriage. There's like this really heightened level of trust that if you don't have it, it doesn't work.
Yeah,
So, and that goes both ways. And, I occasionally have the client that says, I'm sorry if I give you too much info. And I'm like, no,
yeah,
there is no such thing. I'd rather be bombarded with, I mean, okay, so maybe you get the client that gives you a feedback and it's 3 pages long where you're kind of like, oh my gosh, I gotta sort out the important stuff, and figure out what they're trying to say. But I'd rather get too much info than not enough. And it's along the same lines. I just did a reel yesterday about progress pics, and it's like if I can't see you, I can't coach you.
fair enough.
And if I don't get data from you, if you're not telling me how food is digesting, how your energy levels are, how your sleep is, I can't coach you because all that stuff, the only person that knows that information is you. So if you don't give that info to your coach, you might as well put a blindfold on and try to coach somebody blindly.
Yeah, I agree. Everything you've said there. I feel like there's certainly sometimes I've done like a consult, taking a client on. It's just reminding me, like 3 months in, they'd be like, oh, 5 years ago I had an operation on X. And I'm like, that was in the consultation form. You didn't tell me about that. Or like something flares up and they're like, oh, I forgot to say. And, sometimes you can easily just oversight it because something like that, maybe you sort of forget because it becomes your normal. But particularly, as we're moving through, and I say particularly when we talk about prep, we spoke about using, assistants and PDs. Like, there's so many little things that maybe the client wouldn't understand that there is a lot of things that could have an interaction with what you're doing around a prep, around a peak. Like, it's quite hard, I guess. Sometimes being in the client shoes, I'm just thinking of people listening, like, if they don't know to tell you certain things. But on the check-in form, of course, we sort of direct that, don't we? The questions that we ask.
Right. So, I mean, we can direct the dialogue and the information that we need. But I guess where you can still fall short is if the client just doesn't relay everything they need to relay, right? So I think the more you can build trust and good communication with that relationship, I mean, it's like any relationship, right?
Yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
two fundamentals.
The marriage or the partnership, it's so true. Like my first coach I was with for like 8 years, and he knew everything. He knew stuff my husband didn't know. So it's like I'd be like, I just need to tell you this. It is certainly, it's there's so much around the stress piece as well. When we're getting ready for competition, all of the things that deliver us there. We're, as a coach, we're sort of trying to manage as many variables as possible, and that's why we need to know because a stress response, in a peak week or around the show, the
Just
physique.
right things. Yeah.
Whoa, wild, wild. And I feel like as well, we can talk about when you start to compare yourself to others, when you start to on the show day or maybe at registration if it's the evening before or the morning, when you start to freak out as an athlete, I know that you work with athletes. Is there certain athletes that you've had where it's like, what can we do to try and relax down and focus on what we need to do when the comparison starts to come in and things like that?
Yeah, of course. I mean, there's always, athletes that might get those last minute jitters and get real insecure about their look, especially when you start seeing people that check in that, oh my gosh, she looks bigger, she looks more shredded, she looks this, that, and at that point, we're talking a day or 2 days before the show. There's not a lot we're going to do at this point. You're where you're at. We're going to obviously, optimize your peak and bring your best look to the stage, but that's just one of those conversations you have to have that we're gonna do what we can. We're gonna freak out about what we can control, but we're not gonna freak about all the other stuff that is beyond our control. So do what you need to do, practice your posing, eat your meals, do your check-ins, and as long as you do everything you're supposed to do, I'm gonna do everything I need to do, and we're gonna get you on stage in your best look. And and then after that, it's all it's up to the judges, it's up to the universe whatever happens, happens at that point.
Yeah.
But guaranteed, if you freak out at the 11th hour, your physique's going to look like it the next day. I
Yeah.
have literally seen physiques just go to piss,
Yeah.
stress, amazing the amount of water that you don't even know where it came from, but somehow your body sucked it into your tissue, you know. So it can just stress is it doesn't only kill, but it will just ruin a physique at that point.
Where's your mind as well, isn't it? Because we
Yeah,
know, and obviously this podcast is centered around females, and this also covers males as well. But I feel like potentially there's maybe a bit more of an emphasis on your stage presence, right? So as a female, we come on and we do the thing, and we try and engage with the judges and engage with the audit, and all of those things when we talk about stage presence and, as you mentioned, posing. And it's so important. It is so important that you have, and you might need to build this over time, but you want that, when you step on stage and when you're watching a show or you're judging a show, you see that, right? Like it's such a difference, and the stage presence it does add to, of course, you presenting your physique. And I think sometimes the posing, some people be like, oh well, I'll do it. It's okay, I know it, but we have to beat that drum, right? I'm sure you'll agree.
yeah. I mean, especially posing, practice makes perfect. I mean, I want to. I mean, not for myself because I'm retired, but my goal was always to be so proficient in my posing that when I got on stage, it was muscle memory. I didn't have to think. I didn't have to think about flexing or engaging my hamstring or where I need to place my toe. I wanted to be so practiced and proficient in it that the only thing I had to think about on stage was smiling and having fun. Not freaking out about did I hit my poses right. um, I think it was at Masters, no, maybe it was Nationals, and they had a huge screen that when you did your back double, you could see yourself.
I
And I was
love
just like,
that.
oh wow,
Isn't it? That's the best.
that's
That
awesome. Yes, you're like, okay, yep, I nailed that pose. Okay, so that was, but yeah, so I mean, practice, 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 and I stress that with my clients through off season. I want you to learn your poses now. I don't want it to be the mad scramble towards the end of prep where you're trying to learn your poses. Not only are you trying to learn them, but if you haven't learned your poses, that means you haven't had the ability to spend the time to learn to get posing conditioning, right? Which we can all see who practiced their posing on stage. You know he did. He oh no, he didn't. It's so obvious, and it absolutely detracts from your scoring, right? Is the judge going to look at the athlete who is like a statue nailing their poses, or the one who's shaking like a leaf and can't hold them? And it's not low blood sugar. It's you didn't practice. You don't have conditioning for your posing, right? So, I mean, one of the things I always like to do was use like a Tabata timer so I could set up a timer that would go through, 15 seconds, beep, and go into my next pose, 15 seconds, beep, next pose. And I would do, 5 rounds of that. And those 15-second holds would increase to 20 and then 25 to the point where I made it to stage. I could stand in my pose for 30 seconds and you didn't know that so it can make all the difference. Good Wi-Fi, bro. Sarah, come
back,
back.
we're back, we're back.
Are you back?
It did like a fast speed.
It's like when it freezes, it's like, God, I hope that didn't freeze with me like.
No, I'd be putting that on Instagram. I love that. I love this tip about a Tabata timer. It throws me back to when I first started competing. I was like, I've got to get this right, and I was so shit at posing. Like I'm not from any dance background, anything at all of that nature. So I'd record on YouTube what like a show. So the judges or the person, the MC, they go quarter ten or what, they go through it all. So I'd like be in a studio and I'd be like, okay. And then I'd do the pose and try and go through it like I was at a show because I feel like, it just changes the game when you have that confidence because you're dieted down. Obviously, you've done your peak, maybe you're traveling. Like, there's a lot of external pressures at times. Da 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 da. Like you said, it needs to be muscle memory and just that you don't even have to think about it, just the smile and the presentation. And you do see it on stage. It's brutally obvious. And you said about conditioning, of course. So for anyone listening, essentially it's like posing fitness, right? Like we need to be
Right.
able to, because sometimes like some of the shows, you could be on stage. Sometimes it's less. Some shows, if it's really hard to judge, you might be on stage for 20, 25, 30 minutes. I've had it. You need,
Yes.
you need to be ready, right?
Exactly. And I mean, and that's when, sometimes the judges are kind of putting the athletes through the poses and just running them through it. And they're watching to see who's going to fall apart, who practiced, and that's when you start seeing people get moved out, so it's every little bit matters. And if you have control over those little bits, why not take it? And that control is practice, right? Make sure there's no stone left unturned. If it's going to make the difference between your placing, you're going to do everything you can, or you should be doing everything you can to ensure your best placing. You know, focus on those variables you can control.
It's you stepping on step because I know you and Heather will be the same. It's like to me, I'm stepping on the stage here. Like you are literally exposing yourself, probably the most you ever could. You got the bikini on, you dieted down. You're being judged on your physique. Why would you leave a stone unturned? Why would you do that to yourself? This is competitive bodybuilding, and there needs to be reality behind that. Because if you half-ass anything, that lives with you, and there's a difference between stepping on stage, which if that's your ambition, that's your ambition, to competitive bodybuilding. Everyone's doing the work. There's, that no days off saying. It's like
Yeah,
people take this very seriously, Gina. Like, you think 2026, there's a lot more eyes on competitive bodybuilding. There's more females coming through the ranks. There's a lot more going on in the space, isn't there? So it's like you don't really have an option.
yeah,
It's crazy, crazy. It's good, but it's crazy the level of competitiveness. And obviously, right now there is questions in the space around WBB, WPD. Like, there's more spotlight on the divisions probably than there ever has been
it
before.
has been a while. Which, I mean, in one respect, I mean, controversy always brings interest, right? So, so it's kind of helping the sport to a degree, I guess, because there's definitely more eyes on it right now, um, especially because of WPD. So,
Yeah. There's a lot, and I asked Hella this, how does she feel about the direction of the female side of the sport? So, from the getting bigger, what WPD looks like. And, she said it's worrying in a sense, and that's because of the direction and what it takes to get there, when we're looking
yeah,
at gaining so much muscle. Also the use of things like diuretics, like all of the things that
sure.
have been going on for years, you know, are they being used maybe more so? And how do you feel about it? Do you have any or
Yeah, I mean, of course, there's concerns about the direction it's going because of health concerns. And anytime the sport and physiques get more extreme, the things that make them more extreme get more extreme, right? I mean, we can't kind of just ignore that we know that it takes more to get to that level of physique. We know what it takes to get to the level of physique that we've seen over the last 30 years. So there's a threshold that's now going far beyond. Um, to me, I'd like to see it dialed back. I'm not honestly a fan of just pushing mass for women. I think the physique gets not necessarily less feminine, but just less aesthetic. The bigger we get, the harder it is to maintain the smaller waist, and the aesthetics that I think that keep bodybuilding pretty. So, I sent Hella a picture of herself a few weeks ago, And it was when she won 2019 Tampa Pro. And I said, this to me was the most beautiful look women's bodybuilding had. And it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger every single year. So the thing is where is it going to stop?
That's the question, I think.
I mean, there's going to be a limit to how big women can get, how big women want to get. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've had off seasons that I'm just like, oh my god, I can't stand myself. I'm breathing heavy, just bending over to tie my shoes. That's not fun,
Yeah, people
you
don't
know.
talk about it. Yeah.
When you get to that point, and when you're like, oh my god, I don't want to eat any more food, and granted, I haven't had that big of a problem because I'm a smaller person, so I don't have to push those massive amounts of calories. But I've watched Hella be like, oh God, I can't eat anymore. Trying to pound calories because you're a 220-pound woman, it's a lot, you know? So, I mean, and the other side of it is we're also seeing these lines blur between physique and bodybuilding, right? That's the big controversy right now. So I was a fan of women's physique look when it was started. I thought Juliana Malacarni was when they wrote the description for women's physique, I was like, that was her, you know? And it's so extremely far from what the intention of that division was meant to be.
Mhm.
It's day and night. There's almost nothing, no remnants of what it started out to where it is today. And you couldn't even say that figure is it, because figure is even harder and more shredded than women's physique was when it started. I mean, there was not a striation on Juliana Malacarni's glutes. And she won, what, 4 years in a row?
Mhm.
So the dilemma, it always seems, though, to me, um, is like it's the organic trend of the sport, right? So let's take Andrea Shaw, right? She's now going into her sixth. This would be her sixth win. She's won the Olympiads 5 times. She's not going to stop progressing, right? She's not going to stop training. So at some point, does an athlete have to say, "Oh, I need to lift just to maintain because I'm big enough and I don't really want to get any bigger"? But where's the progression in the sport, right? I mean, it's part of what bodybuilding is. I've always called it, it's like the constant pursuit of perfection that you'll never get, but we're always going to keep trying and building and getting bigger and adding to our physiques, right, and sculpting it.
Mhm.
So where does it stop?
Yeah, that's a good point. Mm.
It doesn't. You
Mm.
will never stop the sport from growing, literally in size, physique sizes. We see it in every men's division. We see it in every female division because athletes are in the divisions for 5, 10, 15 years. They're going to get bigger. So,
Yeah.
how do you stop that? You can't.
Yeah. Because even bikini, right? Like when I started out, it was front of a magazine. That was sort of the criteria, as it were, a healthy look, healthy glow, and I think how even as you said, it's all women's divisions because obviously now there's Fit Model, which is sort of where bikini was when I started out. I mean, when you look at bikini pros, I mean, fucking hell, Gina. Like, and you said figure. I remember watching like tail end of last year and this year, and I was seeing figure girls and thinking, oh, that's WPD, and then I was like, That's figure. Oh, right.
Bigger.
So, and then that's women's bodybuilding. No, that's WPD. But you're right. What's the top shelf, right? That's a good question because I don't,
I don't think there is. I mean, unless, even if you have, so you see it with the men's with the weight caps, right? I mean, that's why Urs, after struggled, season after season, trying to make the weight cap, finally said, I'm stalling, stifling my physique. It wants to grow. It wants to get bigger. So okay, so now he goes up to open. Well, where does the open guy go?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's no limit to the top end, right? So the open guys just get bigger and bigger and bigger.
It is crazy, like because Hella said it on our first podcast. She was when we spoke about fit models. She was like, people always want to see the freaks, which is true. But obviously, we're in this world where it's like if something's awarded, like you say, so if you win a category, so then are you the poster child for Z category if you get the Olympia qualification, whatever? Okay, so do all the other athletes in that category then go, well, I need to get there, so I need to be drier, I need to be harder, I need to do more, do more, do more. Is it then, does it filter people out? Like maybe people don't want to compete as much as well? Like there could be that side of it. Because I mean the pro league, the vascularity, the dryness, the muscle on the females. I mean, I'm a fan of bodybuilding, so I'm like, whoa, that's cool. However, I'm like, how is that attainable? You know what I mean? It's like when you look on Instagram, you're like, is this real? You know what I mean? Like crazy, 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 crazy. Now you mentioned obviously you retired. I'd be interested to ask you, how did you find that? Because there are people listening. I've got a very loyal listener in Australia, Joy, and she's just essentially retired. The identity shift around that and what that can feel like. Could you talk us through a bit about how that felt for you? Because it's super useful for people.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, say I think in 21 is when I started having some health issues with my thyroid, and it was questionable whether or not I could compete or whether or I should compete. So my looking at retiring started as early as 21 for me. Um, and then I had health issues with blood pressure as well. So again, there was the same question: should I stop for my health? Which that's almost really not even a question you need to ask, right? It's a no-brainer. If it's compromising your health, we do this because we love it. We don't do it to kill ourselves. So even though I had this huge reason, justification that made sense, it's not good for your, well, we can say that bodybuilding is not good for your health, period. But I had gotten to the point where there were certain things that it was compromising my health. Getting through a prep safely was becoming more and more challenging. So, I struggled with this decision easily for 3, 4 years. And when I finally said I'm done, as much as I know I'm done, there is a little voice in the back of my head that says, maybe, maybe next year, maybe we'll just do masters. I don't think that voice will ever shut up, ever. I think 10 years from now, there's that voice could go, maybe, because I think what makes us who we are as bodybuilders and athletes and competitors, that doesn't ever go away. There's never going to be a time where you're not going to have a bodybuilder brain where you're going to think about protein and macros and look at in the mirror and say, oh, my arms look big or I look small. Or I think that's so ingrained in us after doing what we do that never is never to go away. So the desire and demand to be on stage, I think for most of us it's in us. Unless you're one of those athletes, because there's some that I've met that absolutely hate the stage part.
For sure.
They love the prep, they love the process, but getting on stage, they're just like, oh God, I hate it. I hate the posing. I hate the routine.
Makeup.
Which for me, I'm kind of like, can I stay out there longer? Do I have to get off? Really? I only get 32 seconds, you know?
Yeah, that's so relevant. I like how you said that because, if anyone's listening that is out of it for a while for injury or perhaps, they have retired, I think the acknowledgement and the acceptance to what you just said maybe helps because rather than like ignore that bit, that voice that's like, well, Gina, you could do it again. I feel like you're almost suppressing them, right? Where it's like, actually, this is a decision. I have retired. Doesn't stop me wanting to maybe go back to stage at some point, and that's okay to have that thought. Because if we try and like, I feel like you're suppressing, and we know what that does, right? So there's also life after stage. You're still a bodybuilder. This is what I've said to Joy. you're still a bodybuilder. She still does the macro things, does the training and all of those things. Doesn't take away from the identity of a bodybuilder, but I think sometimes we tie our identity to the stage. So that's sometimes the crisis, right? Where it's like, oh well, I'm nobody if I don't go to stage. But in reality, Gina, it's us that cares, right? Like there'll be a star on Instagram one week, then there'll be another one, then there's someone else doing it. Like you've got to care about this because it's really falls back to you. If you're looking for that external validation, it's very short-lived, isn't it? Like,
It is, but I think it's a lifestyle that is the bigger challenge to let go of. And certainly identity. I mean, we're known as athletes, as bodybuilders, competitors, and then what are you when you're not that anymore? That's a big change. And I think everybody comes to it differently. I think those of us that have to come through it because like you were forced out of it because of a health reason, I think that might be a little more challenging than saying, yeah, I had a good run. I'm done. I did what I wanted to do. I'm ready to step down, as opposed to you're done. You really weren't ready to be mentally, but for some reason or another, your body said physically, that's it. I think there's feelings of loss, kind of like something was taken away from you that you didn't choose. So I think there's different things that we have to deal with. Not saying that even choosing makes it any easier, but I would have rather had a choice than because I was done with the sport because I don't feel like I finished. But my health said you're done.
yeah, yeah, that's. I'm glad you've dug into that as well because it's true, and you and I are the same. I don't know if yours was from this, but I actually got a thyroid condition off the back of my last prep. That was from using thyroid medication for the fat loss properties. Um, on reflection, it was quite the prep because I ended up with a thyroid condition, and then I had knee surgery, so I haven't been on stage since 2022. And people, the first like 2 years, everyone would be like, "When are you going back in prep?" When and like, I got forced out of it, as it were, Gina. But I still have ambitions to go back to stage at some point. And I guess in my mind, I'm like, well, I'm still going to go back. So maybe that helps me with, I haven't retired officially, but I understand what it's like, when you get those blood test results or you get the medical examination, it's like, you've got a thyroid condition and you're like, what? Because it's quite, I mean, for me, it was quite scary. I don't know how you felt from that.
It was because the first things, my thyroid was so compromised that my TPO antibodies, I don't know if they were looking at those on yours, were through the roof. They were like in the 600s. So the physician I was seeing at the time was like, we might be looking at cancer. I'm like, whoa, don't throw that word out there. But it was just like a basically my body like went into this raging autoimmune response because of all the thyroid hormone that had been supplied to it, exogenously. My body didn't know what to do. It basically like pushed me into hyperthyroidism, which then not knowing I had that for such a long period of time, it created hypertension. So, it was just kind of compounding issues. But and the bigger challenge I think with thyroid is a lot of physicians really don't know how to manage thyroid conditions.
Agreed.
I mean, it's so prevalent that people are medicated and mismanaged when it comes to thyroid. So, I was able to kind of get mine improved for a period of time, but it kind of went right back to where it was. And, I'm just on thyroid hormones for the rest of my life. That's just my normal now. I just have to monitor that and manage it. But, um, you know, the use of thyroid hormones in preps, it's dangerous if it's not done correctly. And your case was probably overdosing. My case was overdosing, and the thyroid doesn't recover. So,
Yeah.
and thyroid manages so much in your body.
Yeah, it's because I took a while to even be able to talk about it on the podcast because I was like I took the medication, so I have this like, although it was a coach that advised it, I still took it. So I had this like, I've done this to myself. I love bodybuilding. I do what I'm told. I've done this and I had this like real, and obviously being dieted down and finding out after a prep, you're not exactly in the right space. So it was trying to deal with these blood test results, having the thyroid condition. And I didn't really, I had bloods done and picked it up because I ordinarily would have bloods done after a prep. So I didn't have bloods because I was exhibiting symptoms as it were, because I'm post prep, right? So feel pretty, battered half the time. Did you have, like, for listeners, did you have symptoms that led you to getting tests done, or was it something that you were just doing anyway and then you found out?
No, I probably had symptoms, but I think I had them so long they became normal. The doctor I was seeing at the time just said, "I don't think you realize how bad you feel. It just becomes normal, and that's it." So I didn't know, and it was just labs after prep, and oh wow, there's something wrong here. We need to fix it. Um, Unfortunately, I was also mismedicated by a nurse practitioner
Okay.
who then overdosed me again with my thyroid hormones. So that just kind of compounded it all. But, again, there's a lot of medical people just don't understand what the proper, thing to do when it comes to thyroid malfunction. But, um, I mean, when it comes down to, I think for thyroid, there's things like, hot or cold sensitivity, you know, that you don't ordinarily associate with your thyroid might be off. There's there's lots of things. So I think there's lots of symptoms that we just don't really acknowledge or attribute to thyroid, and until we actually see the labs, then we start going, oh yeah, that I do have that. My skin is dry, my nails are brittle, my hair does fall out. And you start putting the pieces together.
Yeah, I agree. It's good again to talk about these things because you just said there, this is the often the mindset of a competitive athlete. You just push on, like this is what we do, right? And we
What we
spoke,
do,
yeah, that's often why we're
suck it up and didn't push on. Yeah.
yeah, we're a bit cooey, the things we do as competitive bodybuilders, it's not normal, right? And to want to do it so readily, it's definitely not normal. But this is the thing you do push on. So the importance of bloods. But also in the first part, we spoke about, when you get into this realm and you go down the assisted route and you start to gain more muscle, you start to see things happen. This ties into the personality as well of I'll deal with that later. Well, if I get something go wrong, it's worth the pursuit. I think that sometimes that is more. I don't know. You're just lost in it, aren't you? In the medical conditions you deal with later. Would you agree? Like, have you had times like that when you started to see more muscle gain and stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as competitive athletes, and depending on how far into the sport you are, there comes a point in time where you actually make a cognitive choice to sacrifice certain parts of your health to achieve what you need to excel in the sport. I mean, I don't think anybody has any delusions that bodybuilding is healthy. I think on the outside, people look at us and think, oh my gosh, what a healthy
Great.
specimen. We look great, but inside, we're playing havoc, and of course, it can be done better than other ways. It can be done, with health in mind and optimized and as many precautions as possible. But I think long term, there's still going to be ramifications from what we do. Heart health, liver health, kidney health, lipid profiles, thyroid, all of those major processes in the body, they're going to have an impact. They're going to take a toll. So, it's a matter of just doing it as best we can with the reality that, yeah, it's probably compromising our health to a degree.
It's the trade-offs of competitive bodybuilding. And that's part of how we keep going, right? Because we have this tunnel vision, we have that. you said earlier, the need for progression, the pursuit of progression, you can become blindsided because you see your physique and you're like, oh, okay, well, I did this, well, I'll do a bit, and it continues. I'd like to ask you before we wrap up, because being female specific, and I know this is going to be a useful topic for us to talk about, as you started gaining more muscle as a female, did you find, was there any pivotal moments of dealing with conflict or, comments and certain things from people close to you about your physique changing and you becoming more muscular? Because it's important for me to talk about this and maybe how we deal with that as females, because everyone deals with it differently, of course. Because we go from being a quote unquote normal person to suddenly having muscle. I wonder if you've got any insight you could share for the listeners.
I think everybody's had their degree of haters and nasty stuff on online because that's the world we live in now, and it's so easy to do. Um, but I think when I first had my first few haters, I actually celebrated it. I said, I must be doing something right if somebody noticed that I've got that much muscle. I'm like, all
Yes.
right, I've arrived. I made it. So, and I think in general, for the most part, I haven't had a lot of haters. And I kind of am curious about that because I see posts and a lot of girls talking about it, and I don't know if they're experiencing it more than I did or do, or maybe I just don't acknowledge it or pay much attention to it.
Nice.
You know, I mean, and I think that's just where I got to at some point. Yeah, sure, there's once in a while I might have a comment that might tick me off and I might kind of go back at them a bit, but that's few and far between. For the most part, it's kind of like, whatever. You know, the person that's going to make that comment, I feel bad for them.
Yeah. To sit.
Seriously, how sad and miserable of a person are you that you're going to sit online and say something snide and snotty and nasty about somebody you don't know? That's a really sad person. They must be very unhappy.
Mhm.
So I pity them. I really seriously I feel bad for those people
There's
because you're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because
why?
we're okay. We're happy. I don't have the need to make somebody else feel bad.
Guys, we are okay. But it is true, and it's like, because people get it from family members as well, right? Like close family members. I was telling a client about this today. I had to train my mum. So she'd say, like, this is where my post about being skinny came from. She used to be like, "You're really skinny now." And through my first few preps, I'd be like, "Mum, you don't understand what this means to me." And I'd get really upset and I'd be like, "I'm not skinny, I'm toned," and all that. And
It's a difference.
yeah, and now, because I'm like, calling me skinny is a fucking insult. So over time, I've like trained her up and stuff because I want her in my life and I want her to be part of it. She changed her mind when I won a show, Gina. Like the first show I won, she was suddenly like, "Oh, my daughters won a show," and it was,
Now she's like Team Sarah.
yeah, yeah. It's like, oh, it made it worth it. But sometimes we've got to almost, if we want to keep someone in our life, that's the difference. We've got to sort of try and, I mean, otherwise you're just going to be in this brutal place. Say it's your other half, and they keep saying comments and things. It's wild. I mean, I don't have that, but yeah, you
Yeah, I've been lucky as far as family. I mean, I think I've always been seen as the weird one in my family anyway, so that was just one more thing. She's a bodybuilder and she lives in Africa. She's just the weird one, So I never really had too much of issues there, but I do hear other athletes having challenges with that, and I think who cares about the idiots and the haters online, but when it's your mom or your sister, brother, someone who matters in your life, then yeah, that's a challenge. But I mean, all we can do is do us, and not shrink or change for anybody else's picture of what they think you should be.
I love that. Don't become background noise and do not shrink yourself, because that always, I don't know why it sticks in my mind. Don't shrink yourself. And it's so
Yeah.
true. Now, before we
Yeah.
go, should we say hello to Hella? I mean, she's not shrinking. She's a mass mom.
I don't know.
They said my name.
You know what? There was a question though that you had that I like had this brilliant answer for.
Oh,
That was like one of the first questions on the sheet you sent me, and that was, what are like some of the main questions we get as bodybuilders, as female bodybuilders? It has to be, can you pick me up?
oh my
But you
God.
said that.
Right? I mean, seriously, I think if anybody has asked me one question
What's up,
more
guys?
than anything else, is it, can you lift me up? And it's kind of like, probably, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I know that one. Terrible. Can you lift me up over your head
Over your
and
head.
straight arms?
Can-
I'm 142 pounds.
and do a squat.
It's when
Like,
they
wow.
say like how much do you bench press? I'm like, I don't bench press. I don't know.
And they look all disappointed.
More than you. Yeah.
And the
How are you
rest of
doing, Sarah? Good?
yes, I am good. Of course I'm good. I've got you two sitting in front of me.
Ah.
Right, you
We
are
actually just came from the gym earlier when she started the pot. We just landed at home. We killed it at the gym. We started functional training
okay.
just to be more mobile, better mobility, and also burn some calories.
Better cardiovascular fitness.
There's no cardio at the gym.
Okay.
So we're doing this. I mean, I'll let you explain. Like, I let her do it and I just participate.
Well, this started because like at least like some point last year, I was kind of like, okay, I need to address my functional fitness, because what we do as bodybuilders really doesn't ever address that, right? We're doing all kinds of lifts to create a look, but it doesn't really create how our bodies function and move. And the more I lift as a bodybuilder, the less my functional fitness actually is doing really well. So I wanted to start this last year, and quite frankly, I hate it. So I just never do it. So this now she got here, and I'm like, hey, I really kind of want to do this functional fitness thing, and maybe we can do it a few times a week, and we'll do it together. And she's like, okay. I was like, yes, because if I get somebody else to just suffer with me, okay, I will suck it up and do it. But make myself go to the gym and do it myself and do burpees, oh hell, it ain't happening. But if I can laugh at her doing burpees, I'm there.
And she is.
Do you feel like retiring for both of you, because obviously you're together, you're training, does that help because you're in your bubble?
Nah.
I just think in general it helps to have a training partner. It helps to have somebody to push your ass, right? I mean, I would say even more so now because I've always been very like driven for competitions. So when you don't have that date anymore, it's kind of like, does it matter if I go to the gym today? Nah, I can go tomorrow. You don't have that. I've always said, like, if you really want to achieve something, you have to have a sense of urgency, right?
Yep.
And when you don't have that sense of urgency anymore, of course, we want to go for health. But literally, if I go 3 or 4 or 5 times a week, like, who cares, right? Like, it don't matter as long as I go. And I've had, like, I think we had now 2 years or something where we just kind of went whenever, like we went, but it could be like 1 week, it would be twice a week, one other week, maybe nothing, another week, 4 times, and oops, 2 weeks slipped by. I didn't go to the gym. So at some point, you really gotta like whip your own ass, and that can be hard when you don't have that sense of urgency. When you're two, it's easier because we make appointments with each other, like we're going to the gym tomorrow, right? And you also know, like, you have a responsibility because I'm usually the one that dictates my time, the time, because I'm usually busy and have a lot of things to do. Not that she's not busy, but it's just like, no, I'm just all over the place.
It's usually because she sleeps more, really.
Yeah, and like I usually organize the transport and stuff. So, but anyway, so I know she's waiting for me to say, now we go. So I also don't want to have her wait all day and then say, we're not going, So it's like really I have to really be tired or something happened or it got too late, and then she's also like, "Man, now it's too late." But I mean, we're good at pushing each other, and we do go like 5 times a week,
I
something
think that's
like
where we're
that.
hitting about 5. But yeah, it's definitely without having that urgency or that goal or that end stage, literally, it's hard to go now. I mean, it's definitely been a shift in my mindset where before there was never a question. You had a job to do. And that job meant you went and trained 6 days a week and you did your cardio and you ate your macros, and it's what you did. Because if you didn't do it, you didn't reach your goal. You didn't look good on stage. Now, well, I still want to look good, but
The goal has changed a
the
lot.
goal's
I
changed.
also I think more about health now.
But the goal is not near as compelling.
Like before, I never thought about health. I'm like, whatever, bodybuilding's not healthy, right? So it's like just full, like full gas. Let's go. I have a
Yeah.
show to win.
Screw health. I look good.
Where now I'm really like, I really want to consider my health, and I really want to do my mobility, and I just want to try and live the healthy lifestyle, right?
Yeah, longevity. I feel like that's part of.
I mean, I've punished my body so much, I have so many joints that are fucked up, so I'm really trying to, like, even with cardio and stuff, I'm really like, it's not good for me to walk too long on a treadmill or run or something. I'll be like, I want to do something gentle like swimming, or even if we do the functional workouts, it is something that is like knee friendly because my knees aren't like the best anymore. So everything is like the health is being considered.
Yeah. I will say that downsizing has helped my joints. I mean, my shoulders had gotten so bad and my mobility and range of motion had gotten so limited. It's like the bigger I got, the less they moved. And the more the
You're also so short though. So
what does short have to do with
well,
it?
short arms, short legs, like you can't really reach. Like when you want to reach something in the cupboard and you're like,
Okay.
Hella.
But
How tall are you?
5 foot.
5 foot.
How
On
tall
a good
are
day.
you?
On a good day. I think I'm probably 4'11 and a half now. I'm sure.
I wonder what that is in centimeters.
Like 152.
How tall are you, Hella?
Fun sized.
I'm 166.
Okay. So it's not too much of a disparity. You're like you say, fun size.
So it's like 15, 16 centimeters and 40 pounds. When we go out drinking, I know she weighs a lot more because I can't keep up.
I can pound a lot more drinks before it hits me.
A lot more.
I tasted
And
your drink in Denmark, didn't I? Oh, this is quite fruity because I don't ever have don't really have beer or cider or whatever. I used to as a teenager, but I was like, oh, this is nice because Heather obviously showed us all the traditional Denmark things. I was like, I'm so glad you're here because you don't experience stuff sometimes when you go to a different country unless you have someone help. Because I'm a bit like, I'm a bodybuilder. I'm like,
Yeah.
tell me what to do. Have you decided your business name yet?
Well, the deadline is tonight.
we have.
This doesn't go
we
live
have-
until.
So we're
What do
gonna
why are you
stick
asking?
with it. We're gonna stick with it. Okay. All right. Well, I wasn't sure if it was decided because there was a couple. But
It's the one.
it's the one.
The one.
The one.
This isn't being released till Sunday after next, so
I mean, okay, so we can't say it.
We can say
We
it.
can make a reveal.
We can do it.
Do you want to say it?
On 3.
On 3.
1, 2, 3.
3. The
The
Transformation Company.
oh, I love it. I love it. Matt, they've chosen a name. Yeah, the Transformation Company. The Transformation Company, TTC. Do you want to come and say hello to Heather? Come on, we're live on the podcast. You can meet Gina. Say hello to oh Heather. Look.
Hello.
Hey,
Hi.
it's so
Hello.
good to see you again.
And you? How is Zanzibar?
It's tropical.
She's sunburned.
Are you?
Yeah, I got a little sunburn.
A bit carried away. Different to Denmark, isn't it?
Oh,
A little
yeah,
bit.
I mean, it was getting nice in the spring, but still, like, the temperatures are different here. And tropical beaches, tropical drinks, tropical everything. Just how I like it.
You can out because Gina's like 5 foot-ish and 40 pounds in weight. So Hella's drinking and Gina's like,
Yeah.
well,
Makes a difference.
She just has to like stick to half the drinks I'm drinking, then she'll be good.
You have to carry her back.
Like,
Good to see you.
You actually carried me on your back once in Cancun,
I did.
but it wasn't for long.
No.
I love it. They are literally the dynamic duo. They're even doing burpees now, functional health.
What?
Yeah,
What?
we're doing functional health now, functional training.
I mean, but in all truthfulness, we actually haven't done a burpee yet. They're coming.
They're coming.
That's good.
She promised to start off like easy, like not, like we're easing it into it. But it's still hard. We go rounds of 15 minutes and we don't stop, like no break. We just go.
We do it AMRAP.
I mean, my pulse today was like 150 during.
Nice.
Yeah, it was hard.
I mean, she really stopped halfway and sat down, but
that was to wait for you.
Gina's the drill side. I mean, Matt does a lot of longevity coaching type stuff, and he's very much like he's always said to me what you said, Gina, with bodybuilding. It's like you lift load in certain pains, but anything outside of that is very, very different. So he's always tried to promote me doing stuff outside of bodybuilding as well, because we become very robotic in the certain movement pains. So you'll be pleased to hear that.
Yeah, although burpee is not necessarily my biggest, so yeah, maybe you need a few drinks for the first one. Like,
Be good for Instagram.
but he came in and
I was criticizing her camera angle
because it's not wide enough.
It should have been also the YouTube wide one. Then I can't really get it. Like, I look skinny here. I'm behind. It's always the person who's behind who looks skinny.
You don't know.
Like if you stand in the front of a picture, you're always the biggest one.
You don't know how many back seats I have been in like this. I'm like, can you move, or plane seats? Can you move your big ass over, please? She's like, no, I'm huge. I'm like, okay, you are.
They are literally a dynamic duo. I love it. I'm crying.
I like the way you're leaving your arm there as well. You're just like, it's there.
She's like, what are you gonna do about it? I'm like, nothing.
Gina's like, I've been here before.
Like, the advantage of the bigger one. You're like, you can try and move me if you like. Go ahead.
Again, like, I'm really getting hot.
I love it. The transformation coaches.
Yeah, I love the name.
The transformation company.
Company.
We're serious. Like, we in business.
Or you could do like a photo where you're both like
really fucking hot.
The way?
Yeah.
Like this?
Yeah.
No, it'd be like
that.
No, hell would be like this.
Yeah.
Or like bicep around.
Oh, there.
There.
Will you move over now, please?
So you're going to announce this on Instagram tonight?
Had it on that angle. That's not a good angle for bodybuilders. It's not the bodybuilding angle.
You need the wide angle.
The wide angle.
Are you announcing it on Instagram tonight?
Are we what?
I think tomorrow, because it's 12 o'clock EST, and that's gonna be like way when we sleep.
Yeah, that's like
EST is like New York
7 a.m.
time.
Yeah, so it'll be tomorrow.
Yeah.
And nobody won because we came up with it ourselves after all.
Okay, I was going to ask you then.
There was a lot of ChatGPT answers. We could tell.
We could tell because we did that.
Also went to ChatGPT and we found many of those names in the comments that we just it was too generic, just not really.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing was, I mean, it was quite challenging because, I mean, we had the team for pro before, and we just, you know, team and pro caters very much to pros, sports team, like your competition. Whereas, like, we do a lot of lifestyle as well. And, we love our lifestyle clients, and we don't just want to be a pro team.
Nice.
It's like, yeah, we have the pro team, but we also have the lifestyle team. And then the discussion was either we got to split it to two different companies and two different Instagrams and Facebooks and everything. And
Nice.
it gets really tedious and a
Yeah.
lot of work to post for both places, have two websites. We're just going to have one company, the transformation company, and whoever needs to transform for a competition, for a wedding, for health. I'm like, it doesn't matter what people's goals are. The goal that that person has is important for them. Somebody who wants to get in shape for their wedding, the day of their life, is very important for them. Just as important as somebody who wants to go and do a show, you know? And I take all clients, or we take all clients really seriously, and their goals are important to us. That's why we really we wanted to have a name that just encompass. I have so hard time with that word. Encompasses income.
Yeah.
Encompass. Whatever.
Encompasses.
That encompasses all the things, right? And then we had Irene wanting to leave and go in a different direction, which is all good. But we felt like this was a time for a rebranding. Initially, we were four. That's why the four and the team for pro. And some people they want to go their own way. They want to do their own coaching, build their own company or whatever. That happens. It's natural progression. And I think we will just us two. We were the ones that started the idea of more coaching and bigger team and stuff. And maybe we will welcome other women in as a coach if we feel like it's a good fit. But we're never gonna like split up. Like this is it. We are coach married.
It's like, I've just got married. I've just got married on a podcast. But it's so true. It is like you can have ideas to go into business with people, but like you said, people change their mind or they progress into something else. It is actually
It
very
happens in all
hard.
businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, and really, like, not everybody gels when it comes to businesses,
Ah.
So, I mean, her and I,
we're on the same page with everything. Whereas, like, it can be hard we found, especially when we were four, it could be hard to be on the same page, all four. So I think just for us, it's very easy just to be the two of us because we don't really disagree on anything.
not much, really.
Like,
if we do, it's because she's wrong. But
no, it's always you who's wrong. You know that.
Gina,
Nope.
Ella was saying when we met her in Denmark, she was really singing your praise. And I'm not a bum licker, right? I'm telling the truth. She was like, Gina's so creative. She does her reels, and that's why I wanted to speak about it on the first part of our podcast. Because what you're doing is you're showing that you're trying to bring the social media content to the space that we need. People need to hear that. People need to see that. And Hella was saying, you just get on and do it. You've got loads of ideas, and that's what you want from a business partner as well. Is you both hold the ship, right? So strengths, weaknesses, like that. It's in tandem.
That's what all that
we
comes
don't
together.
We don't even have the same strength, which is a good thing,
Right.
Because we complement each other with what we can bring to the table.
Yep.
And that's what. And then of course we mention it, Gina. This is what I like about when you've got a duo like yourselves with clients. They sort of get, but like my clients know Matt as well, so they sort of feel like they get me and Matt, even though it's not all the you've got the set coach. You've still got input from someone else if it's required. So you might not know so much about one thing, the other one does, and it's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we can always discuss clients. We can always like get a second opinion or You know, I mean, our clients are our clients, and they're welcome to contact either one of us. You know, they have like, they basically have like a personal coach, but they have us both.
Yeah.
At the same time.
It works. So, guys, if you want to transform your body and your mind, we have the new company. They have arrived. So, obviously, I'll put yours as well, Hella. Are you going to make a new Instagram page? Because I can put that in the description. Or are you going
We're
to?
gonna change the name on our
Yeah.
Instagram page.
Yeah, it won't be new. It'll be the
The
temporary.
same one. We'll just change the name, and that will happen like tomorrow.
Okay, so this goes live Sunday after next, so I'll put everything in there. So if you're listening and you want to inquire for coaching or reach out to either of these beautiful ladies, then just click the link in the bio in the description. Maybe as well, futuristically, we could do another episode where we discuss some stuff as a trio, or maybe we can invite some other female bodybuilders as well. Like I'm down to.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool for sure.
Sky's the limit because we are the best. We are the best.
Yeah.
Big love.
Bye
Bye bye.
Ah.
Bye.